It was absolutely fucking incredible to watch the Avalanche win another cup. And they should be incredibly proud of themselves for how much they have worked and worked on every facet of that organization for quite some time to turn things around. I almost, yeah, I haven't. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen that since I was a kid, um, and it was pretty fucking cool back then, and it was something special to see, particularly in the circumstance against a really good hockey team. And Kale McCarr seems like I don't even know what to say about him. I followed his draft. I followed his combine. I knew that he had an incredible upside, incredible amount of potential. But I didn't quite expect it to be something that has become what it is already. Not quite like that. And it's also incredibly cool to see EJ and it's pretty damn cool to see EJ lift the cup finally. That dude is stuck with it. Has been with the organization for quite some time. It's pretty cool to see that too. It's cool to see it all. And they seem like they have so many important pieces. Just for any need, for any occasion, there is a player who effectively covers that need or occasion or what have you. If not well, then very well to incredibly well. And it's also really cool to see Bednar succeed. Because when he was when he was first introduced to the Avalanche, and success didn't immediately follow in the way that there were expectations, quite in the way that there were expectations. There were actually fans who wanted him gone pretty quickly, even after he had only just appeared. And I'm very happy that that wasn't the case. I kind of figured that a lot of what Bednar would bring to the group was just going to take time, just the same as rebuilding from every facet of that organization. Not just the roster, but yeah, the roster, but the farm system and everything. And the coaching staff, and probably more of the front office than I have kept track of in the last 2 years. I'm very happy that Bednar, survived a lot of the heat that he got when he had first arrived, and within the first couple of seasons, people's expectations were not. I don't think that they were terribly reasonable back then, because it was the beginning of an entire overhaul, and I could see that from back then. It's actually something that I spoke to about with some friends a long time ago. And it's really cool to see. It was really, really special to see. I did expect 7 games. I did. In fact, I was incredibly confident about that. And I'm glad that it wasn't. And, what I will say is the only reason why it wasn't 7 games, at least in my mind, is because the Avalanche have exceeded my expectations. Because Tampa Bay is an incredibly talented team. And although I didn't catch all of the second period, actually I didn't catch any of the second period because I was in the middle of changing locations to watch the game. It sure seemed like the Avalanche were in full control of that game after probably, if I had to guess, after probably the midpoint. Which is to say that, it most certainly wasn't that I was watching Tampa just roll over and die. That's not what they do. And I don't like to be the type of person, the type of sports fan to say, this is my team and they're just that good. In fact, I'm pretty hesitant to do that. With the Avalanche, it's been a very long time coming with their rebuild in every facet. And I have hesitation to speak about it in that way, but I'm allowing myself to do as such at this point, at least within that last game for sure. I am blown away by the culture of that team. And it was really cool to see Kadri lift the cup. It was really cool to see that too. It was so cool to see it for everybody. And McKinnon is somebody that has been so hard on himself after so many playoff, disappointments, at least to him. I believe the quote was, I've been in this league for 8 years. Was that the quote? I've been in this league for 8 or 9 years, and I've won shit, or something like that. Was that last year or the year before? And he's somebody that just has so much expectation of himself competitively, and gets so frustrated when he doesn't live up to it, and I know exactly what that's like. And Well, I mean, I used to. I used to deal with that too. It's really cool to see him succeed in the way that he seems to have always expected himself to. And it's really cool to see that his expectations never got the better of him. His expectations not being met in the past never got the better of him. Didn't turn into, well, I guess it's just not going to happen, so fuck it. And I think that speaks a lot about who he is in comparison to his expectations of himself that are earnest. Most certainly are. It's not show with him. It's not that he wants to be the best at everything that he does. I watched the man golf and get pissed off when he wasn't immediately the best at golf as soon as he started golfing. Same expectations there. When he said that he would probably just golf for the rest of his life after he retired from hockey to be the best at golf. And I also think that it's a pretty strong indication of the leadership around that team too. Because I used to watch every single player interview, read every quote, read everything I could find for many years. And the core of that group, with EJ, Landeskog, McKinnon, are, and what I mean is the leadership group, which, at least outwardly, that's what it's always seemed to be, or it's what it's been for a while. As the core group of where that comes from there, or where that has come from there, it's maybe built outwardly at this point. I can see that it's still there, and I also think that it says quite a lot about that team as well. That somebody that I actually thought would show up more on the score sheet during this playoff run seems to just kind of be struggling, which happens. In Rantanen, I think it says a lot that the Avalanche were still as successful in the way that they were successful against Tampa Bay, with Rantanen seemingly not necessarily being himself, because he's a big piece of that. He's a big piece of the offensive core on the Avalanche, and even still, and he did show up as well but he seems to be maybe not himself, which happens, and he's still a young man, and a lot of them are, and it's pretty cool to see that. And it's cool to see Kemper. It's cool to see Kemper lift the cup, and it is. It's interesting to see that in this circumstance, but it's cool to see it, and it's interesting to see Darren Helm lift the cup with the Colorado Avalanche. I never would have ever dreamed of that happening in my life. But it did. It's fascinating. I watched a Darren Helm long time ago in a different circumstance.